was a couple of weeks ago. We had Joe Maddon on, and he counseled patience. Hey, long way to go. You got to play it out. I said, but Joe, these teams are no good. Joe, it's a couple of weeks later, and these teams are still no good. Not all of them, but the teams we've been waiting to turn it around have yet to do so. So we're talking Angels, Mets, Padres, White Sox, Cardinals. Joe, welcome back to the show. Where are you on these clubs now?
Well, you're right. I mean, listen, I never really denied that. It's a situation where fan bases, front offices, everybody's waiting. Teams that have been playing poorly to start playing well, and it just doesn't happen that way. It's very difficult. You're looking at the records right there with the Padres, 44 and 50, et cetera. Just to turn that into a 20-game over 500 for the rest of the season team it's nearly impossible to do. So, again, I was counseling patience, yes, only because among your clubhouse, within your group and your fan base, you got to kind of show a little bit of that. But at a certain point, you just have to kind of throw in the cards and move it along.
Joe, I can see the other side, too, saying if we believed in our mission in December and January, why are we giving up on it now? You know what I mean? Or, what is the reality of, when you watch the Padres, we did a whole thing on the Padres, they're losing in little ways. They basically have to get better defensively. Team defense isn't good. Defense individually good, team defense no good. So, I understand saying, hey, can we make some adjustments with the vision that we originally had? You got to keep the emotion out of your decision-making process all the time. It would be a bad process to think that I've always talked about the process as fearless, meaning that it is what it is. If you're not playing well, to think that all of a sudden you're going to start playing well, it's just not it's not reasonable. So yes, I understand all that. We had this wonderful method in spring training. We had all these wonderful plans in place. We acquired these certain players. And it's just not working out for a variety of different reasons. You're talking about the Padres specifically, and to me, you're just talking about fundamentals. It's nothing really complicated here, just playing a better fundamental game of baseball. And again, to think that you're going to not do that, then all of a sudden do that, it's a bad get. It just doesn't occur that way. So this is who they are right now. I agree with you regarding that. And so if you have to make difficult decisions, take the emotion out of it and do what's good for you now and in the future. I liked your advice that you gave. And actually, this is what I quoted with Cliff Floyd over the weekend. We were doing an MLB Tonight, was take chances on the bases. We saw 2 or 3 guys go in a third. And at one point, we were mad at one guy who got thrown out at third. And I had to say, wait a second, don't get mad if he gets thrown out, right? You have to, you can't, don't punish it. Don't punish aggression, and don't be afraid of a bad result.
If you do that with the player after he fails in a situation, he'll never try to do it again. If you want to preach aggressiveness and get a team that will take willing chances in good situations, going first to third is a really good play. Puts a lot of pressure on the pitcher and the defense. But the moment somebody gets thrown out, if all of a sudden you could take him in the room and tell him that was a bad decision, you don't do that. You take him in the room and talk about, well, what were you thinking in that particular moment? Okay, let's just think about this the next time. I want you to stay with that, stay aggressive, stay positive. And the next time it's going to turn out in our favor.
Exactly right. It's hard to do in the real world, but it's vital.
Right.
All right. I want to ask you this, too, because we saw another David Bell-like explosion. Reds, obviously a brand-new team. They look great. He gets tossed out. I love it. Deliberately comes up, and then it happens. Joe, have you ever just lost it? And, well, let's start there. Have you ever lost it the way Bell lost it here?
Well, did you see the time that KB grabbed me in Pittsburgh and Joe West was playing offensive right tackle and kept me from going to the
do have a vague
Pirates
recollection.
dugout?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect. And sometimes you just do, and sometimes it's intentional. And yes, I think there could be a short-term benefit to that within your team, maybe for that game, for that night. It's hard to have that really have a carryover effect into the next day. It's the same with meetings in the clubhouse when a manager gets really upset. Sometimes he's just getting upset for himself to vent, to get the steam out, to protect, or sometimes there's self-protection involved in it too. But like Davey right here.
Yeah, that's Davey your guy.
Davey could, he doesn't hold back. And again, we had a great time with all that. But yeah, there's sometimes the tirade can have a short-term impact. I really believe that to be true.
Now, Joe, I want to ask you about Fred McGriff. I know I just went at it with Mad Dog. We definitely remember things differently than we thought about them at the time. And somehow Fred McGriff, when he was on the trade deadline, Fred McGriff, when he was a free agent, Fred McGriff down the stretch, Fred McGriff in the playoffs was the man. And if you're telling that to somebody who's 22 years old now, they're like,
Oh, well, that's nice. They don't know it, and even people our age don't seem to remember it. I'm glad. Thank goodness he's going into the Hall of Fame this weekend. You tell me from what you saw up close being an American League guy. I think you were the Angels through a lot of those years, and then I think the Rays, he was there, I think, in the front office. Tell me about Fred, just remind people of Fred McGriff in his heyday.
Well, perfect description right there. This guy was really good when it mattered, when it counted. He did not want to see him at the plate. If you look at his overall hitting numbers also, the guy didn't strike out all the time. He moved the baseball, he put it in play, and you could see it right there, the entire ballpark, left field line to the right field line. He's also a very good defender at first base and wonderful in the clubhouse. When you're around this guy on a daily basis, Freddie's got one of the best laughs in history, and he's always upbeat, and he's always there for the rest of his teammates. So you look at the overall numbers, and whether the home runs close to 500, yes, but the other stuff, right down to his on-base percentage, slugging percentage, all that stuff, his OPS, really wonderful over, 19 years? So doesn't longevity count for something, too? To be able to do it that well for that long, for 3 different teams, I think it is, right?
Yeah, and he had 15 years, too. He had 15 years of monster production. It's not like, oh, he faded at the end. He faded, Joe, it's unfair. He faded at the end as compared to the other guys who were on performance-enhancing drugs. Like, he didn't have that boost. That's what was different about him in his final years.
Dog was just a good hitter. Like I'm saying, he was a good hitter. He wasn't just a power hitter. This guy really had a really good approach at the plate. He knew what he was doing up there. And again, he was contagious to the rest of the group. So if you take the entire body of his work, absolutely, he's a Hall of Fame player.
Excellent. Are you a big Hall guy or a small Hall guy?
I'm a small Hall guy.
Okay. I'm a larger Hall of Fame guy. We might be in the same area. You might be surprised about who. I think I could sell you on a lot of guys.
For another conversation. Yeah, like look at Bobby Grich. Look at Gritchy. I mean, for me, Gritchy, you look at Gritchy's overall numbers, and there's some guys in there right now that, quite frankly, if WAR matters, it's way greater than a lot of other guys that are there.
Grich, it's funny how Grich was like a sabermetric favorite at the forefront of that. Yeah, he's kind of lost steam on that. But, you bring him back up, a lot of people talk about Bobby Grich. See, you're a bigger Hall guy than you think. All right, Joe. We
Appreciate it, brother.
We got to go. Take care.